Get ready to dive deep into old school RuneScape because today we're tackling the proposed run energy overhaul.
Yeah, this is a big one.
And it has the potential to shake up the game in some major ways.
It really does. It touches so many aspects of gameplay.
From early game exploration to high-level efficiency, everyone's talking about this.
Absolutely, and trying to figure out how these changes might affect them.
Exactly. We've got all the juicy details from JGEX's announcement and the second open beta.
Oh, the beta, that's where things get really interesting.
Because that's where we see how these proposed changes actually play out in the hands of players.
And let me tell you, the feedback has been pouring in.
Players are passionate about this one, that's for sure.
They are, and rightfully so. Run energy is such a fundamental part of the old school RuneScape experience.
It really is. It affects everything from how quickly you can complete quests to how efficiently you can gather resources.
And even how competitive you can be in certain activities.
Right. So before we get lost in the weeds, let's start with the basics.
Sounds good.
What exactly is JGEX trying to achieve with this run energy rework?
Well, they have a few key goals in mind.
Lay it on us.
First and foremost, they want to improve the early game experience for new players.
Yeah, those early levels can feel pretty brutal when it comes to run energy.
It's like you're stuck in slow motion, constantly having to stop and wait for your energy to recharge.
Definitely not the most exciting way to start your Galenor adventure.
No, not at all. So, JGEX wants to make those early levels feel less punishing, less like a chore.
I can see how that would make the game more welcoming for new players.
Absolutely. A smoother early game experience can make all the difference when it comes to attracting and retaining new players.
Right, no one wants to spend their first few hours in a game feeling frustrated and held back.
Exactly. JGEX wants players to be able to explore Galenor, to experience all the content the game has to offer without feeling limited by their run energy.
That makes sense. So a better early game experience is goal number 1.
That's right. Goal number 2 is to make agility levels feel more impactful and rewarding.
Okay, I can see why that's important. Right now, it doesn't always feel like those hard-earned agility levels are really paying off when it comes to run energy.
Especially at higher levels, you still find yourself having to manage your energy carefully.
Which can be frustrating when you've invested so much time and effort into leveling up your agility.
Exactly. So JGEX wants to make those high agility levels feel truly valuable, like they give you a real advantage when it comes to run energy.
So essentially, they're trying to close the gap between the early game and the late game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They want to make run energy a more balanced and engaging system across all levels.
And to make agility a more integral part of that system.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a better early game experience and more impactful agility levels. This is the third goal.
The third goal is a bit trickier.
I'm intrigued.
They want to find that sweet spot for activities where run energy management actually requires skill expression.
Like, where it's not just about having a high agility level, but about making smart decisions, about when to run and when to conserve your energy.
Precisely. They want to maintain that strategic depth without making it overly punishing.
I can see how that would be a tough balance to strike.
It is, but it's an important one. If they make run energy too easy to manage, it becomes meaningless.
Right, it just becomes another bar that you don't really have to pay attention to.
Exactly. But if they make it too difficult, it becomes a constant source of frustration.
Especially for those players who've already invested heavily in agility.
Precisely. So, JGEX is walking a tightrope here.
They are. They want to make run energy a more engaging and meaningful system, but without alienating any segment of the player base.
It's a challenge for sure.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's one that has led to a lot of debate within the community.
Oh yeah. Players have been discussing this nonstop since JGEX first announced the proposed changes.
Which is great. It shows how much people care about the game and how these changes could have a real impact on their gameplay experience.
Absolutely. And JGEX has been very open to feedback, which is encouraging.
Definitely. They even had an open beta to test out these changes and gather feedback from players.
And that first open beta was a gold mine of information.
It was. Players weren't shy about sharing their thoughts, both positive and negative.
They weren't, and JGEX has clearly been listening.
They have, because the second open beta incorporates a lot of the feedback they received from the first one.
It does, and it's led to some significant changes.
All right, so let's dive into those changes.
Let's do it.
What are some of the key differences between the first and second open betas?
Well, one of the most notable changes is the significant boost to energy regeneration across all agility levels.
Oh, so you're saying that even at low agility levels, you'll be able to recharge your energy faster.
Exactly. JGEX has basically doubled the base regeneration rate.
Wow, that's a pretty big change.
It is, and it's aimed directly at addressing those early game frustrations we talked about earlier.
I can see how that would make a huge difference for new players.
It should. It means less time spent waiting for your energy to recharge and more time spent actually playing the game.
Okay, so faster regeneration is a big win for those early levels.
Absolutely. But there's a catch.
A catch. Now I'm really curious.
They've also increased energy drain in most scenarios.
Wait, so you regenerate faster, but you also burn through it quicker.
That's right.
That sounds a bit counterintuitive.
It does, but the key is that the increased regeneration often outweighs the increased drain.
Oh, I see.
So overall, you can actually run for longer, especially if you have a high agility level.
Those have a trade-off.
Yeah, you burn through your energy faster, but you also get it back quicker.
And those with higher agility levels benefit the most from this trade-off.
Exactly. Because their regeneration is so much faster, they can actually run for longer periods of time than they currently can.
Interesting. So even though they're burning through energy more quickly, their high agility levels allow them to maintain a higher overall running time.
Precisely. It's all about finding that balance between regeneration and drain.
And making sure that agility remains a relevant and impactful skill.
That's right. Jagex wants players to feel like those hard-earned agility levels are truly paying off.
This is all starting to make sense now.
Good, because it's about to get even more interesting when we start digging into the actual numbers behind these changes.
Oh boy. I'm all ears.
So let's start with energy regeneration in the current system. The formula is your agility level divided by 6 plus 8.
Okay, simple enough.
Which means at level 1 agility, it takes a whopping 12.5 minutes to fully recharge your run energy.
Oof, that's a long time.
Yeah, no kidding, especially when you're just starting out.
You practically have time to make a sandwich while you wait.
Right, but now with the proposed changes, the formula becomes your agility level divided by 3 plus 15.
Okay, so the numbers are getting bigger.
They are, and that's a good thing, especially for those low-level players.
How so?
Well, with the new formula, that same level 1 player now regenerates in just 6.6 minutes.
That's like half the time.
Almost. It's a huge improvement.
No more sandwich breaks, huh?
Not unless you're a really fast eater.
So faster regeneration for everyone, but what about those high agility levels?
Oh, they benefit even more.
Tell me more.
At level 99 agility, your regen time drops from just over 4 minutes to just over 2 minutes.
That's gotta feel good.
It does. It's like having a turbocharger for your stamina bar.
Okay, so regeneration's getting a serious buff, but what about drain? How's that changing?
This is where things get a little spicier.
Bring on the heat.
All right, so the current drain formula is 67 plus 67 times your weight divided by 64.
Okay, so heavier you are, the faster your energy drains. Makes sense.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, but the proposed system throws a curveball.
Oh.
It's 65 plus 90 times your weight divided by 64, all multiplied by 1, minus your agility level divided by 400.
Oh, hold on. Let me grab a pen and paper.
No worries. The key takeaway is that now your agility level directly influences how quickly your energy drains.
Okay, so the higher your agility, the slower the drain.
Exactly. It's like your agility is giving you a discount on how much energy you spend while running.
I like discounts, especially on energy.
And this discount gets even better at lower weights.
So it's not just about how much you're carrying anymore, it's about how nimble you are.
Exactly. It's a whole new way of thinking about run energy management.
Okay, this is all starting to click now, but what does this mean in practice?
Let's look at some examples.
Perfect. Love examples.
At max weight, which is 64 kilograms, if you have level 54 agility or higher, you'll actually drain energy slower than you do in the current system.
So high agility players are actually getting a better deal.
They are, and if you're rocking level 99 agility, you're looking at a 13% slower drain rate.
Wow, that's significant.
It is, especially when you're trying to maximize efficiency. Honestly, the possibilities are endless.
I'm excited to see how players adapt and find new ways to optimize their gameplay.
Me too. It's going to be fascinating to watch the meta evolve.
But remember, these are still just proposed changes.
Right. We need to see how they actually play out in the beta.
And that's why Jagex is encouraging everyone to jump in and test them out.
Try out your favorite activities, see how the changes feel, and let Jagex know what you think.
Your feedback could help shape the future of Run Energy in Gielinor,
It's a chance to be part of something big.
to make old school RuneScape even better.
So get out there and make your voice heard.
All right, now that we've covered the basics, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
Sounds good. Where do you want to start?
How about this? How do you think these Run Energy changes could impact the long-term health of the game? It really feels like these Run Energy changes could be a pivotal moment for old school RuneScape. We've talked about all the potential impacts on different playstyles, but how do you see this affecting the overall health of the game in the long run?
Yeah, it's a big question. One of the most significant potential benefits I see is attracting new players.
Right. We talked about how these changes could make the early game much less of a slog.
Exactly, allowing players to explore Gilnor more freely without constantly running out of energy.
Yeah, first impressions are everything.
They are. If a new player feels like they're constantly hitting a wall because of run energy limitations, they might just give up and move on to something else.
Makes sense. By making the world feel more responsive and dynamic from the get-go, they could potentially hook new players and keep them engaged for longer.
I think so. A smoother early game experience could be a game changer when it comes to attracting and retaining new players.
And a larger player base means a more vibrant community, a more active economy, and ultimately a healthier game overall.
Exactly. It all feeds back into itself.
But what about the veteran players? How do you think they'll react to these changes?
I think it'll be a mixed bag, honestly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Some veterans might be concerned about run energy becoming too insignificant at higher levels.
Right. Maybe feeling like it removes a layer of challenge from the game.
That's a valid concern. Some players might feel like the achievements they worked hard for are being trivialized if run energy becomes less of a factor.
It's like if they suddenly made it so you could teleport anywhere in the world.
Right, it might be convenient, but it would also take away some of the sense of accomplishment that comes from traversing the world on foot.
So it's about finding that balance between convenience and challenge.
It is, between making the game more accessible without removing the elements that make it rewarding.
But on the other hand, there are veteran players who might see these changes as a positive step towards a more streamlined and enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. They might feel like it frees them up to focus on other aspects of the game.
Like bossing, skilling, PvPing.
Exactly. Without having to constantly worry about their run energy.
It's like removing a layer of tedium, allowing players to focus on the activities they enjoy most.
Yeah, without having to constantly manage a resource that they've essentially mastered.
So it really comes down to individual preferences and how each player values different aspects of the game.
I think so. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's about what makes the game most enjoyable for each individual.
And that's why this beta test is so crucial. It's a chance for players to voice their opinions, share their experiences, and help JGEX find that sweet spot.
Where these changes benefit the majority of the community without alienating anyone.
It's like a grand experiment.
Yeah.
And we're all part of it.
Exactly. We get to test the changes, provide feedback, and ultimately help shape the future of Gielinor.
So what are your final thoughts on this run energy overhaul? Do you think it's a step in the right direction for old school RuneScape?
You know, I really do. I think it has the potential to be a very positive change for the game. It could make the game more welcoming to new players, more enjoyable for veterans, and more dynamic overall.
It sounds like JGEX is really trying to listen to the players and make changes that benefit everyone.
They are, and that's what makes me optimistic about the future of old school RuneScape.
Me too. It's an exciting time to be a part of this community.
It is, and on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the run energy rework.
We've explored the challenges, the potential benefits, and the uncertainties that lie ahead. We've analyzed the formulas, discussed the meta implications, and considered the long-term impact on the game.
It's been a journey.
Now it's time for you, the players, to take the reins. Get out there, test those limits, and let JGEX know what you think.
The future of run energy in Gielinor is in your hands.
Until next time, happy scaping, everyone.